Welcome to the Nomadic Closer Podcast, where the world is your office. We're here to help salespeople and entrepreneurs level up, break free from the 9-to-5, and live the location-free lifestyle. Each week, join us for real-life experiences from the pros, practical tips, and game-changing insights on how to succeed in sales, business, and life. This is the Nomadic Closer Podcast.
Guys, how are we doing today? Hope everyone is well. On today's podcast, I've got a very, very special guest because he is a good friend of mine, but he's also helped me in my business like crazy. This guy here is called Jamie with the most beautiful shirt you'll ever see in your life, the biggest personality, and an absolute genius when it comes to AI. So thanks for joining, buddy.
Hey, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Good stuff.
It's wonderful.
Right, listen. First question I want to ask you and just jump straight into it because we're in Bali at the moment.
Let's go.
And I want to ask you, why are you in Bali, bro?
I hate my home country.
Because there's so many entrepreneurs here, but why are you here?
Yeah. No, I think like a lot of people, like I just came here for, I was like, okay, it was post-pandemic. I'm in New Zealand, small economy. I'd grown up in Jakarta originally for like 15 years as well. So Indonesia is very close to home. But my plan was just to go over to America, live in the Valley and, kind of live that tech entrepreneur lifestyle. I got to Bali and then after 3 weeks, I was like, nah, I'm going to cancel.
Oh, so you came here on holiday?
Yeah. Well, I was coming here in a transition period. And I was like, I'm just going to like relax after, New Zealand being in lockdown for 2 years. I think we're the second longest country in the world to hit that button again and again.
How long was it?
Pretty long. It was, we went back into lockdown kind of in like January, February of 2021, which utterly destroyed my business. I'd just like been in the trenches for 4 years and like generated like multi-million-dollar contract of revenue, just bootstrapped my startup. And then like COVID absolutely obliterated it yet again. And I was like, fuck this, I'm out. Are we allowed to swear on this?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. Okay. Cool.
No kids are going to watch this.
Yeah. So I was like, fuck, like shit. I'm like completely just, like kind of like hitting the rock bottom scenario like again and again from COVID. Because I basically did like citywide events through an app that I did. And we came like 4th and 5th on the App Store in New Zealand. It was really cool. So it had like a lot of potential, but it's just like, man, small economy, bad environment. Like I know I'm born for bigger stuff, so I'm just going to get out. And then came to Bali and I was like, oh, this is not like what I thought it'd be, which is really cool. There's like a fantastic vibe. Like I find that like Bali is just a incredible place for strength and to be able to.
What do you mean by strength?
Yeah, just being able to focus and have deep work. I think the lifestyle factors over here, granted that you don't get sucked into the vortex of Temptation Island, which I think all of us are privy to sometimes.
Yeah.
You can really have just, like I went to Austin earlier this year because I was like, tech scene, let's go America. And it's like, man, it's kind of like not as cool. People aren't as smiley. And that definitely bleeds into my life as like a productive entrepreneur. I hate to say it, but it just is a factor.
Let's go back a step because you said that you massively into tech. You created some apps.
Yeah.
Why tech? Like, how did you fall into the industry?
Oh, good question. Like even deeper than that, I've always been interested by like how do you generate like genuine human interaction and connection, and how do you create these ecosystems for human flourishing? Like my grand entrepreneurial vision, like if I have to throw myself out there and like force myself to say like, what are you going to do by the time you're 70? What's your legacy going to be? I'll go, well, okay, like if I take 6 grams of psilocybin, which I don't because I love the government.
Love it.
Then I go, well, shit, like, all those classic deep Buddhist kind of truths of the universe kind of come unraveling. You're like, I am you, you are me. And like this kind of ego death sense of compassion and love for all sentient beings really kind of like just, possesses me. I'm sure there's a better word than that. But
something takes over.
Yeah. So, it's just like utter confirmation. Like those are always the deepest moments. And like, or when I'm like, 2 or 3 weeks deep into a meditation, usually 2 weeks deep into a meditation retreat, which I'm like, have done multiple times and get tons of value from. It's always just like this bounce back from rock bottom, not rock bottom, but like your deepest why, which is like,
which is what?
Selfless compassion. Like,
So how does that plug into tech?
yeah. So essentially kind of being able to take like what's the net positive? Like, how can you do like the net most amount of impact for as many people as possible? Tech scales better than most things. And being able to create ecosystems for human flourishing, which for my app, basically what we did was we took viral internet trends, whether it was like Squid Games or like some Mr. Beast like stunt or anything, and then would do like a version of that in real life. And then would have, which is like, cool, okay, so that's a real life event. And
So
then
what you had it, so you promoted it through the app, then you got people to have a meetup?
Oh, well, we'd promote it through like tons of different things. I mean, like we'd like also do like flash mobs on university campuses, but the app was really good at like you download it, you and your friends are bored on campus. It's not like the ads. I haven't like met anybody interesting. I'm kind of lonely, and it's like this is like pre-lockdown as well. So like especially like during lockdown and post-lockdown, like people absolutely loved us. That's why we're hitting top 10 every single time we launch. We hit top 10 of the New Zealand App Store, which is really cool. That's the pretty side. There's the not pretty side as well, but it was kind of like, okay, how do you create the magic of Pokemon Go, but something not lame? Because like I didn't even like download Pokemon Go, but like I saw the effect that it had on people. So we'd just like do massive citywide takeovers and everything. It's kind of like the Mr. Beast app. You download it, join in a team with your friends, get points, get prizes from these massive brands. We had like hundreds of thousands of dollars of prizes, like Red Bull, like Ola, just like.
But what was the thing you was trying to create with it? Like, what was the end goal?
Yeah, well, in that case, genuine face-to-face interaction, like deep, meaningful, shared experiences with your friends, getting out of the house, kind of off your phone, through your phone.
Yes,
and then and then having all that
off your phone, through your phone.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, nice. And then so unfortunately, COVID happened and completely wiped out your business.
Oh, I stuck in for 2 years.
Oh, you did.
I was in the trenches.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that was not nice. But I this is kind of frustrating because I felt like I would have had that kind of big entrepreneurial success. But I think I'm part of like a generation of entrepreneurs that were just about to do that, had done something big, and then just like got nothing to their name. So it's like, all right, time to.
But you just mentioned something quite interesting. What are entrepreneurs? Entrepreneurs, I mean, everyone has a different definition, right? If you had to describe an entrepreneur, a real entrepreneur, what would your description be?
Exploit the system.
Yeah.
Take as much money as possible.
Literally.
No, not at all. I mean, they come in many different shapes and flavors. I mean, for me, yeah, that's a good question. It's a very foundational assumption. I mean, from a first principles perspective, I guess it'd be like, actually, no. Let me wind back. I had like a really great conversation with a pretty top-notch entrepreneur over in America. And he said like 2,000 years ago, if you wanted to change the world, you'd become a monk. Now, if you want to change the world, you become an entrepreneur. And I think I really resonate with that a lot. So for me, in my personal definition, it's people that really want to kind of change the world for the better, at least in my books.
Absolutely. Because that's great. I love hearing that. That resonates with me as well. But like, I see a lot of people who try to become an entrepreneur that think opening their own business is easy, thinking starting a company is easy. And all of a sudden, if they have their first little knockback, they're like, oh, well, this is not for me. I'm going to go back to my 9 to 5. Entrepreneurs fail every single day, but it's how can you pick yourself up and how can you keep on going, but how can you also mitigate certain risks? The way we always say is, listen, always try and find a mentor that's been where you are and get that mentor to show you shortcuts.
Yeah.
But on that note, we've now got things like AI and ChatGPT that can help and support.
Yeah.
And that's something I really want to dive deep into with you because you're an absolute whiz and genius when it comes to AI.
Thank you.
Like insane. The conversations that we've had, even if we sat down for like an hour, I've walked away and I'm like, oh my God, my mind is absolutely blown. Like this can save me 70% of my time. It can 10x my revenue with half the staff that I have. But then it's about how to implement it, right?
Yeah.
But now, for any entrepreneur that's listening, if entrepreneurs do not adapt to AI, where do you think the market is going?
Cool. So, if you don't adapt to AI, I mean, like the market there will be entrepreneurs that will be able to leverage asymmetrical returns. Like they'll be able to kind of just, the top 1% of people, let's just say only like 1% of people used AI. Entrepreneurs are smart people. And the people that rise to the top will like really start to own a large share of the market. So you will not be replaced by AI. You will be replaced by someone that uses AI. I think we're entering into like this new kind of paradigm shift. I hate using that sentence, but like paradigm shift era where it's like, okay, well in the 1990s, late 1990s, there was this kind of weird thing called the internet that came around. You might have heard about it. Yeah. And a lot of people were like, okay, it's a different way to do things and it might grow. I can see that there's potential, but they didn't realize that it was kind of like this new wormhole into like the fourth dimension. And now we're kind of going into and the rules change. The rules change each time you enter like a dimension. Like now we're entering the fifth dimension as an example. Analogy isn't perfect, but it's like there are just like going to be different rules and you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. And being able to reduce that amount and to be able to, just like with like a sense of enthusiasm and like curiosity and excitement that I think most entrepreneurs have innately in them, to dive into it and to not be scared about it, I think is really great.
But it's kind of like chicken and egg story. Do you start by trying to create a business and then bring in AI, or do you start a business utilizing AI first?
Great question. I would say go for the lowest hanging fruit, which is just kind of wrap your head around AI. I mean, like even if you had like a normal business and the internet was coming around, try to figure out how the internet works in general. Like become not deeply knowledgeable in it, but just understand the general principles. And then being able to navigate this new terrain and not be left absolutely in the dust, I think is super important. And I think most people are kind of like, there's like kind of like a fear mindset around AI, not from existential threat, but I'm just being like, I don't know what it is. It seems technical and hard. I'm like, like the subtext here, I've made this infographic just because the subtitle is using AI is easier than you think. And I haven't written that much code as a tech entrepreneur, but that doesn't matter because the thing that you need to use ChatGPT and other kind of AI systems is human speech, is English. It's the thing that you already know. You've already got the skill. You already kind of quote unquote know how to code now, just by using English. And the more you can have mind blown moments where you're like, oh my God, there's so much I could do with that. I didn't realize. And you're like, yeah, you could already do it. It's like just.
But how would one know? Because like, I'm just thinking. Let's say my dad, for example. Right?
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, do you know what, Joe? I've got a really good idea. I want to start a new business.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Dad. Well, why don't you use ChatGPT? We're like, how do I use ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Just talk to it. But then just talking to ChatGPT isn't really going to give you what you're looking for, right? So like, how do you know what prompts to use? How do you know how to program it? Are there courses out there? Can someone be self-taught? I mean, is that something that you can do? I mean, like if someone's starting literally from scratch, how would you suggest on how to use it the most efficient way?
Sure thing. Here would be one principle. If you can just remember this while getting into AI, one thing that will just, like all roads lead to Rome. One principle. Talk to it like a friend. Just start speaking to it like a friend or like any other normal human. And then you will consistently have mind-blowing moments. And you're like, oh shit, it can do this. I can ask it questions like I would to like a business mentor, or I can ask it questions like I would to a therapist, or I can ask it questions from this perspective or that perspective. And then the key barrier is just knowing that. So the more that you can prove to your subconscious that this is just like speaking to a human, it's kind of like speaking to a god, and it has the answers, you will naturally correct. Now, then we can get into like, how do you ask the right questions, etc. But no. Just having in your mind, speaking it to like a person or like a god, but you're the person, you can still just consistently prove to yourself little mind-blown moments, and you will automatically get to where you need to go.
Good advice.
Thank you.
Good advice. And I remember I went to one of your workshops and you were talking about how you actually use it as your diary.
Yeah.
And how it summarizes your personal, professional life, gives you tips, tricks like that. Again, it was mind-blowing. Tell me a bit about that.
Sure. So now that we've kind of really emphasize that first principle of just speaking to it like a person and having mind blow. Like, just do that and you'll become a prompt engineer. And just have enough practice and tinkering and don't be afraid, you'll become a prompt engineer. I have created something called ChatGPT Lego bricks, and if you're on the video version of this, I'm holding up a little infographic. This is just something free. It'll be on my Instagram at Jamies_Insta_.
I'll add the link as well in the description.
Cool. And we'll also do bit.ly/ChatGPT Lego bricks V1 _, which I just made up then. And we'll go back, and I promise you, by the time this is published, it will be there.
I like it.
You know what Bitly is? bit.ly/ChatGPT Lego bricks V1, no spaces, _. And I'll take you to a Google Drive link with all of the updated versions I create in the document, so that link will time well as well.
Amazing. Thank you.
My pleasure. So yeah, I break down, like, there are a couple, like there are 3 core ways that you would want to use AI. So you open ChatGPT or Claude or any other AI system, and like, okay, what do I do? These fall under 3 high-level categories. You can either be creative, you can be analytical, or you can want to turbocharge any of the information that you have. So under creative, it could be as simple as, like, come up with 10 ideas for a birthday party or for my business plan. I've actually got a little example over here where you say, I want to create a business plan. And I go, okay, sweet. Well, one of the things that you want to do before that is that you actually want it to ask you questions, because you might not know the right things to ask it, but it does. So there's little things like this that really start to turbocharge you, and you'd discover them normally if you just tinkered around and played with ChatGPT enough. So please do that. But getting it to ask you questions to fill out context will really be like, boom, that really does like a great job. The second thing to do is to say, I'm going to have a conversation with you, a long one. I want to have a long conversation. There, you coded. It's plain English.
Wow.
I want to have a long conversation. And then it will take it from trying to give the entire response in one question, which it normally likes to do, and that's how it's trained, to breaking it down and going back and forth with you and not trying to oversimplify anything. So then you would say, okay, we're going to have everything broken down. We're going to agree on the high-level context. So that's now we're step 3. Agree on the high-level bullet points. And this is outlined in the infographic as well. And you say, okay, well, you want your marketing plan, your finance plan, your human culture plan, etc. Your AI culture plan, maybe. And then you see these are the high-level bullet points. You're like, sweet, let's divide and conquer. And the more and more you get into this, the more and more you'll notice that this is how good human conversation flows as well. And the more I work with ChatGPT, the more I actually get better conversations with humans. It's such an interesting time to be alive.
Wow.
Such an interesting time to be alive. Definitely changing the way that I think for better, makes me a more logical, reasoned systems person, while also being able to be creative and to think out of the box. It's just, yeah, I feel like I'm getting way more out of life just talking to ChatGPT than I would out of getting like a super hardcore degree. I did a quadruple major at university, and like I learned a lot, but nothing in comparison to just fucking around with AI.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. So then in going back to using it as your daily diary.
Yeah, let's go there.
Let's touch on that.
Yeah. So I will include this as a text file in the Google Drive bit.ly/ChatGPT. I go back to one. I basically like lay out this this protocol, and you should totally tinker with it if you're going to do it. But you can totally just go to the Google Drive link, copy and paste this, and then, oh my gosh, have I just been getting like a world of benefit out of this? So basically, I say, I end my day, and I find that I get way better sleep. I wake up less in the middle of the night if I just journal. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try do a voice to text riff. I'm going to speak to it like a therapist, and I just feel like way looser, and like I've like offloaded. And if I don't do it now, I notice just how frazzled I normally am when my head hits the pillow. Mm-hmm. So I say, 1, I'm going to voice to text riff to you about my day, just voice journaling. Number 2, I then want you to take the principles of my day, divide them into the categories of spiritual, life, and work. You could be spiritual as an atheist if you meditate. And then number 3, I want you to psychoanalyze me, and I want you to tell me what my strengths are, my bright spots, and then what are my areas of growth or weaknesses, my blind spots. And then after that, number 4, I want you to give me a bedtime story about a fictional character that encounters and learns all the principles that I've had in my day. And there's just such an interesting thing about the bedtime story where humans are story machines, and it's like the human interface between technology and all that. And I just learn the lessons, and I'm growing so much as a person right now, just like having my brain geared towards this medium of storytelling and journaling and psycho. It's really great.
That is insane.
Yeah, it's really simple as well.
Crazy.
It's crazy simple.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something before about becoming a better communicator.
Yeah.
I find that so fascinating, you know, because we speak to so many people on a daily basis, and, you know, part of what we teach is communication.
Totally.
A lot of people, what they find that they learn how to communicate over Zoom because they have a script, they understand the script. But part of what we teach as well is how can you actually make money by going out and networking, using your sales skills, understanding the framework, the script to go out, try and speak to someone, find a problem, solve a problem. Once they're in conversation, it works fairly well because they have a framework. But sometimes a lot of people don't know how to start a conversation, how to become a person of interest. You know, if they go off script, how can you bring it off script? But like actually having a conversation with AI, I've never thought about that. That's genius.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be able to prompt it at the beginning to set up a training exercise to say, I'm for example, like a high-ticket sales closer, and I want to practice like having a script that I kind of dance around and have, you know, return to my energetic kind of containers or my intellectual containers, nothing rigid. And then I also want to practice the art of just having loose conversation. I mean, like I've had a couple conversations recently, and just like noticing so much more about human dynamics, man. Like the end of the conversation, we just talked about like the same, like, you know, the gym that we went to after like real intense, like long 2-hour business meeting. I was like, wow, that was interesting. I don't know, just it's naturally making my mind more hyper aware of conversational dynamics and everything.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
How to break the ice with someone, how to, you know, because again, what we also teach as well is how to become a person of interest. Because I find a lot of times, especially in Bali, you go to these network meetings and you turn around to someone and you're like, hey, you know, what do you do for a living? I have a marketing agency. Okay. And I mean, yeah, doesn't sound too exciting. Or if you turn around or they say, oh yeah, I have a sales agency. But the way I like to say it, to be a person of interest, and again, I'm probably going to go to ChatGPT and see if I can sound better.
Yeah.
But to become a person of interest, it's about storytelling.
Totally.
Right? And a lot of people don't know how to storytell. And I think by using ChatGPT and understanding how to use storytelling in your communication, I think is absolute genius. But to give an example, what I say is like, if someone asks me, what do I do? I say, yeah, I mean, you know how like in Bali, there's so many people that are like some kind of coach, online coach, fitness coach, a coach that coaches. Coaches.
Yeah.
So basically what I do, I actually help people or businesses like that by implementing a sales system and strategy so they can work on the business, not in the business. They can start 5-10x in their business and they don't have to worry about the whole sales.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit more interesting than just saying sales agency.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and I think a lot of people need to figure out ways how they can become a bit more interesting.
Yes.
So like what kind of prompts would you think you'd use on ChatGPT for that?
First of all, fantastic. I love motorbike sounds in the background, but the microphones are so good that it's not even going to pick it up. What you just touched on there was framing and containers. And, you know, I'll think a little bit more about this, and maybe, you know, probably if I think of anything, it'll be in that ChatGPT bit.ly link. So framing the questions, the quality of your answers really determines on is based on the quality of your questions.
Absolutely.
And I'm just noticing the significance both in human conversation as well as dialogue with ChatGPT, like how the framing of something really, really increases it. So when you're giving the example, right, of having, you know, you're at a networking event and you're not boring. I have a sales agency. Like, well, how can I add some flair to it? How can I have a storytelling component to it as well? And just being able to, and here we go, crossing the chasm of science to art, and logic to authenticity. Not that it's bad of an analogy, but yeah, skipping more into authenticity and just like practicing and having these containers or arenas for practicing bouncing thoughts with AI at like a really fast pace. That was definitely spaghetti, and you could use AI to unspaghettify it. But yeah, it's just like being able to have framing in a certain way really starts to become clear when you have almost this laboratory environment of conversation with AI.
Absolutely love it. I love it. I've got so many questions for you. So many questions.
Yeah.
But the one of the biggest questions that I really want to ask you is like, because you have all this knowledge, ambition, you know how to utilize AI and ChatGPT to advance you as a human.
Yeah.
But what's your main focus at the moment? Like, what are you trying to build at the moment?
Totally. Yeah. So I'll be calculated about what I say, but I'm essentially, I just spent 4 months traveling the world, meeting with like the largest future city projects in the world and rubbing shoulders with a bunch of the execs, and yeah, really, really happy with like, where I am in life at the moment. And I'm basically like wanting to build a future city in Australia, and I've like presented to the government twice, really assembling like a really strong advisory board of the world's like leading experts, which is just totally crazy. And I've found myself like as someone that has had really killer mentors for all of their life. And my main strengths may be like surrounding myself with the top humans in any one thing and kind of getting people on board with a vision. And typically things like, like hardcore engineering or like large scale accounting or like all these kind of things that I'm like, I don't know, have like scared me as an entrepreneur, as they should. Like there's like so much to learn and complexity, and you need to have like heads of each department to do things. Fuck, man, like this is like we're entering the wormhole of a new dimension, because like I'll go away and then I'll know how to ask the right questions to ChatGPT from 20 hours of practice, and you see the same shit getting repeated again and again. Go.
I'm gonna roll back a second.
Yeah.
You mentioned something that's really interesting. You mentioned you've had really good mentors your whole life.
Yeah.
People struggle their whole life to find a good mentor.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna leave the audience with one last great answer, I want that to be the great answer. So how can someone find a mentor to level up? You're going to go back to ChatGPT?
I don't talk to my mentors as much, man. I just use AI.
I love it.
I human validate it. So I'll do a bunch of work with ChatGPT, and then I'll riff with my mentors, and I'll have like a 10x better conversation. But coming from, if you're listening to this and you're like, fuck, I like wish I like got some mentors. I knew how to find people. Bro, excuses. $20 a month, ChatGPT plus.
Bam.
That's it. Yeah, that is it. And then obviously get mentors, because you're a human now. And in the next 10 years, the human side of the journey is going to matter a little bit more, with kind of things becoming way more automated. So make sure you've got a fun adventure, but learn how to use AI.
I love it, brother.
Cool.
I love it. Bro, thank you.
My pleasure, man.
Thank you for sharing all this knowledge. Thank you for everything that you've done for me, for our company. And just the knowledge that you're sharing with everyone. The giveaways that you're going to give to people, and the link that we've just made up.
I don't want anything. I don't really want anything from it either. Like the way that I make my money and everything is obviously with the property project. The main reason I did the ChatGPT Lego bricks thing is that it's quite the party trick to give to people that I work with and encounter with. Obviously, I've worked with you a little bit because I wanted to flex my consulting skills. But yeah, no, I'm not holding back. I really just want everybody to get the most out of AI, and I think that we're entering a new exciting part of humanity, and I hope to be part of building it, and part of that is AI. So
amazing. Can't wait to see your journey, brother.
Thank you, brother. Lots of love. We live in Bali. How great. Most of the time I'll be doing some traveling, but yeah.
There it is. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for your time.
Cool.
And guys, see you on the next one.
Lots of love.
Bye for now.